Hello, Yukon Bio. Today we're going to go on a little virtual field trip, taking a look at some seedless plants here in the woods that supplements the post-lab and lab materials for Lab 6A. So we're going to start by taking a look at this rock right here. On the surface of the rock, you can see there's some green fuzzy stuff growing there. This indeed would be moss, which is an example of a bryophyte growing on the surface here. Again, each one of these individual patches is made up of several hundred to thousands of individual moss plants growing side by side one another. If we go down here onto the ground, we can see slightly different species of moss and some of its characteristics. Down here, you can see the green leafy part of the moss is the multicellular haploid stage, the gametophyte stage, and those little thin portions that are extending out, those are the sporophytes with little capsules with spores at the tip. So when we look at these, we pull up a little clump here. The moss itself has both haploid, diploid stages. The green in the moss is the dominant gametophyte multicellular haploid. Each of those little thin portions extending up, they're extending up and out of the female gametophytes, where the egg would have been fertilized and grows into that sporophyte. At the very top of those sporophytes, are those capsules. If I can get it to zoom, the capsule at the top there is what is going to have the spores that will be released, and they will germinate and grow into more gametophytes. So here we've got some moss, gametophyte and sporophyte portions of the moss. I'm going to take a short little walk through the woods here because it's early in the year. It's end of March, beginning of April. We don't have a lot of plant activity going on yet, but there are a few important things that we can see. We'll stop here and take a look at some more interesting things. Here, growing on this branch, maybe you can guess what this is. Is it a plant? Nope. Here we have lichen. This is the symbiotic relationship between fungi and a photosynthetic algae or some other photosynthetic microorganism. So here we've got some lichens, mutualistic relationship between fungi and plants or algae. Neat. All right, we've got one more little patch to take a look at over here. So we looked at some bryophytes. Here we have some other organisms. These are often referred to as spike moss. And you may recall from the notes on chapter 29 that spike moss really isn't moss at all. Spike moss is a type of lycophyte. These are seedless plants, but they are vascular. Seedless vascular plants are going to have xylem and phloem. This is why they have a structure that allows them to grow much taller than a typical moss plant. At the very tip of these plants, again, you can find the spore-forming structures where the spores would be released. Again, because these are lycophytes, these are going to be related to ferns more closely than they are related to mosses. The green leafy part of these plants is going to be the sporophyte. These are going to be sporophyte dominant organisms. The gametophyte portion of these plants is going to be way down underneath the ground here, much smaller and reduced in comparison to the mosses. So that was a little overview of some of the types of plants that you might find out in the woods around your own house. I'd encourage you to go out there, take a look at some of the plants that you might be able to find. Are they bryophytes, lycophytes, pterophytes? Next week we'll go out and take a look at some angiosperms and gymnosperms, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more growing a week from now. Talk to you later.